Chapter 10. The Earth with its Darkness. A field of dandelions, yellow, exploding into white, into a blizzard of white, a tear of white. Green stems, sickly trickling ooze. Grandma, you're not going to die, not ever. Get her. Smell. Bad smell. Gun. Getter's gun. Stop him. Terrible fall. Gwen. Zilla. Head hurts. Crystal horn heals. Matthew's unicorn comes. Tip touches head with light. Heals. Beezy. Grandma. Ma. Pa. 2 stones in the cemetery. A fight at the end of the cliff like Gaudior and Maddock at the edge of the lake. Bad. Beezy, never let him touch you. From inside himself, Charles Wallace watched as the unicorn lowered his head and the blazing tip of the horn touched Chuck's head, pouring light into it. He kept the horn bare until the light had poured itself out, and the spasms of pain subsided and the boy stopped babbling and slept. Charles Wallace! He listened. The voice sounded like Gaudior, and yet it was not Gaudior, and he no longer saw the silver beauty of the unicorn nor the light of the horn. Nothing was visible, not even darkness. Something was happening, and he did not know what. He was still within Chuck, and yet he was intensely conscious of himself as Charles Wallace, and something was pulling him. Meg sat up, blinking and rubbing her hand against Ananda's fur. The kitten had returned and was sleeping on the pillow. At first, Meg did not know why there were tears in her cheeks or why she was frightened. She closed her eyes in sadness and saw the unicorn standing motionless by the star-watching rock. A pear-shaped drop of crystal slid from Gaudior's eye and shattered into 1,000 fragments of the stone. The unicorn looked up at the sky. The stars were sparkling brilliantly. Small whiffs of starlit clouds moved in the rapid north wind. She thought she heard Gaudior saying, "The old music was in them once." That was a victory for the Ecthroi. Meg thought of Mrs. O'Keefe waiting downstairs. Yes, that was a victory for the enemy, indeed. That Beezy, the golden child, should have become the old hag with missing teeth and resentful eyes was unbearable. There was more to her than meets the eye. Infinitely more. And what now? What's going to happen? To Chuck? To Charles Wallace? Charles Wallace! He listened. Was it Gaudior? He could hear, but he could not see, and the voice echoed as though coming from a great distance. Charles Wallace! The voice was compassionate. You don't have to stay within, Chuck, now that this has happened. We did not expect this. Charles Wallace felt cold and confused and therefore cross. But I am within Chuck. Yes, and Chuck is unconscious, and when he comes to, he will not be the same. His skull has been fractured. Although the healing of the horn has taken away the worst of the pain, it could not repair the brain damage. And so there have been instructions that you are to be released now if you so desire. Charles Wallace felt weighed down by darkness and pain. The almost Gaudior voice continued. Within Chuck, as he is now, you will have no control over his actions. His brain is short-circuited. If there is a might have been which you should alter in order to avert disaster, you have no ability either to recognize it or to change it. If you release me from within Chuck, then what? You will be sent within someone else, and then you will be better able to accomplish your mission. Time is of the essence, as you understand, and we do not know what may happen while you are trapped within this injured child. Who are you? Charles Wallace asked the invisible voice. You sound like Gaudior, but you aren't Gaudior. The voice laughed gently. No, I am not, I am not Gaudior. All the healing light went from his horn, but he could not cure Chuck, though it kept him from dying, and that may not have been a kindness. He has gone home to dip his horn in the pools of healing to replenish it. Then who are you? Again the voice laughed. You saw me when Gaudior took you home after you nearly drowned in the Ice Age sea. I am the unicorn you saw come forth from the shell. Why can't I see you? Why can't I see anything? The words of the voice had reassured him, and yet he still felt foreboding. While you are in Chuck, you see only what Chuck sees, and he is unconscious, and will be for several days. Come, Charles Wallace, there's no time to be lost. Let us help you out of Chuck. If Mad Dog Branzillo is to be prevented from starting a Holocaust, you must not dally. I have to think. Something was wrong, and I did not know what. Charles Wallace, Gaudior will corroborate what I have told you. Chuck's brain has been damaged. He's little better than an idiot. Come out. If I come out, will I see you? There was something about the voice which was inconsistent with the visual image of a baby unicorn, but of course it would no longer be a baby. Of course you'll see me. Hurry! There's a terrible urgency about what you are to accomplish. Of course you. You were selected, weren't you? No, Beezy, Mrs. O'Keefe, laid a charge on me, because you're the only one who can prevent Branzillo. But I can't. Of course you can. The voice was tenderly patient. Why do you think you were chosen? Well, Gaudior seemed to think it was that I might be able to go within people because of the way Meg and I kive. Exactly. You were chosen because of your special gifts and your unusual intelligence. You know that you know that yourself, don't you? Well, I can kive, and I know my IQ's high as far as that goes, but that's not enough. Of course it is. I have the ability to see the difference between right and wrong and to make the correct decisions. You were selected because you are an extraordinary young man and your gifts and your brains qualify you. You're the only one who can control the might have been. Charles Wallace's stomach was churning. Come, Charles Wallace, you have been chosen. You're in control of what is going to happen. You are needed. We must go. Charles Wallace began to throw up. Was it in reaction to the tempting words, or because Chuck, with his bashed in skull, was vomiting? But he knew that whatever the voice looked like, it was not a unicorn. When he had stopped retching, he said, I don't know who you are, but you're not like Gaudior. Gaudior would never say what you've just said. It was trying to use my high IQ and trying to control things that got us into trouble in the first place. I don't know what I'm supposed to use, but it's not my intellect or strength. For better or worse, I'm within Chuck, and I never come out of within on my own. It's always happened to me. I'm staying within. Meg let out a long sigh. He made the right choice, didn't he? Ananda's warm tongue gently touched Meg's hand. Meg closed her eyes, listening. She thought she heard a howl of defeat, and she whiffed the ugly stench of ecthoi. So they had been trying to get at Charles Wallace in a much more subtle way than by trying to snatch him from Gaudior's back or throw him into projections. Desperate Mormain had nearly killed Chuck. Nothing went in straight lines for him anymore, not time, not distance. His mind was like the unstable earth, full of faults, so that layers shifted and slid. It was like being in a nightmare from which there was no possibility of waking. She ached for him and for Charles Wallace within him. Panic and panic, the world tilting, twirling on its axis out of control, spinning off away from the sun into the dark, light bursting against his eyes, an explosion of light, a kaleidoscope of brilliant colors assailing his nostrils. Chuck! The voice came echoing from a vast distance, echoing along the unseen walls of a dark tunnel. Chuck, it's Beezy, your sister. Chuck, can you hear me? He was weighted down by the vast heaviness of the atmosphere, but he managed to lift one finger in response to Beezy's calling, afraid as he did so that if the weight lifted, he would fall off the wildly tilted earth. He hears me. Ma, Chuck moved his finger. Slowly, the rapid out-of-control speed lessened, and the planet resumed its normal pace. Colors stopped their kaleidoscopic dance and stayed in place. Smells became identifiable once more. Coffee, bread, apples. Beezy, the goal was not as brilliant as it had been, but it was still Beezy. And their mother, the blue was cloudy now, hardly blue at all, closer to the gray of rain clouds. Grandma, where is Grandma's smell? Why their emptiness? Where's the green? Grandma! She's dead, Chuck. Her heart gave out. Getter pushed her. He killed her. No, Chuck. Beezy's voice was bitter, and the bitterness further muted the gold. Desperate Mormain. He was furious with her and was going to strike her, but you saved her, and he hit you instead, and you fell all the way down the stairs and fractured your skull. And Grandma, she just... What? To get her? No, not get her, Chuck. Desperate Mortmain. He felt as awful as he's capable of feeling. He and Ma drove you to the hospital, and I stayed home with Grandma, and she looked at me and said, I'm sorry, Beezy. I can't wait any longer. My Patrick's come for me. And she gave a little gasp, and that was all. He heard her, but between the stark words came other sounds and the smell of a hot and alien wind. Times later slipped and slid under him. But Gwen shouldn't marry Getter. Gwitter's children shouldn't marry Maddox. There was panic in Beezy's voice. What are you talking about? Chuck, please don't. You scare me. I want you to get all the way well. Not let's pretend. Real. Gwen and Getter. It would be bad. The cliff loomed high over him. Dark, shadowing. Getter was at the top of the cliff, waiting. Who was he waiting for? Chuck slowly improved until he could put cans and boxes on the store shelves. Even though he could not manage school, he recovered enough to mark the prices on the store stock. He seldom made a mistake, and when he did, Desperate Mortmain did not box his ears. Sometimes Chuck saw him as Mortmain, sometimes as Getter, when his world's warped. Getter is nicer than he used to be, he reported to Beezy. He's nicer to Ma, and to Grandma and me. Grandma, a sob choked Beezy's words. Chuck, how can you? How can you play Let's Pretend about Bat? Her voice rose with outrage. How can you go away from me like this when I need you? Don't leave me. He heard and he did not hear. He was caught between the layers, and he could not get into the right layer so that he could be with Beezy. Grandma says I'm not to let him hear me call him Getter, because that's not his real name, so I won't. He had intended to say, he thought he was saying, I'll never leave you, Beezy. But the words of the other layer came out of his mouth. Where's Matthew? I want to talk to him. He has to get Zilla to Vespuccia. Sometime the earth started to tilt again, and he could not stand upright against the velocity. Then he had to stay in bed until the tilting steadied. He climbed the attic stairs one day when the earth was firm under his feet and crawled into all the dimmest and most cobwebby corners until his hands felt to pack it. At first he thought it was an old tobacco pouch, but then he saw that it was oilskin wrapped about some papers, letters, and newspaper clippings. Letters from Brown to Zilla to Matthew, urgent letters. He looked at them and the words danced and flickered. Sometimes they seemed to say one thing, sometimes another. He could not read the small print. He pushed the heels of his hands against his eyeballs, and everything sparkled like fireworks. He sobbed with frustration and took the letters and clippings downstairs and put them under his pillow. I'll tell Grandma. She'll help me read them. The kite came to Megan, distorting waves. 1 minute she understood, and the next she was caught up in Chuck's shifting universe. She pulled herself away from the kite to try to think. What's coming clear, she thought, is that it's important to know whether Mad Dog Branzillo is from Maddox or Gaudier's line. Somehow or other, it's between the two babies in the scry which both Maddox and Brandon Locke saw. We don't know much about Gaudier's line. He was disgraced, and he went to Vespuccia eventually, and we think Getter is his descendant. We know a little more about Maddox's line. From each time Charles Wallace has gone within, we know that most of Maddox's ancestors stayed around here. So Branzillo's ancestors matter. And it's all in Matthew Maddox's book that Charles Wallace can't get at because the X-Thori are blocking him. But what can Charles Wallace do about it, even if he and Gaudior ever do get to Patagonia? Slowly she moved back into the cave. Chuck, it was Beezy's voice. Here I am. How do you feel? Dizzy. The earth spinning, like the night we saw the fireflies. The night Pa died. Yes, like then. You remember? She asked in surprise. Of course. Lots of things you don't remember. That's why you can't go to school anymore. Chuck? What? Ma's going to have a baby. She can't. Pa's dead. She's married again. She and Getter can't have a baby. It would be bad. I thought you were talking the way you used to. I thought you were all right. Her voice rose in frustration and outrage. Not Getter, Mortmain. He tried to come back to her, but he could not. Same difference, same smell. The baby had to come from Maddock. Brad and Zilla had to have the baby because of the prayer. What prayer? She shouted. Lords of blue and lords of gold, lords of wind and waters wild, lords of time that's growing old, when will come the season mild? When will come blue Maddox's child? Where'd you learn that? The letters. What letters? He became impatient. Brad's letters, of course, but we've read them all. There wasn't anything like that in them. Found some more. When? Where? In the attic. Grandma helped me read them. Where are they? She demanded. He fumbled under his pillow. Here. Chuck walked through a spring evening, smelling of growing grass and blossoms drifting from the trees. He walked over the fields, over the brook, drinking the water rushing with melting snow, lifting his head, clambering to his feet, going on to the flat rock. Payne walked with him, and there was a dark veil of cloud between his eyes and the world. If a chair was pulled out of place, he walked into it. Trees and rocks did not move. He felt safer at the rock than anywhere else. He did not tell anybody about the veil. He began to make mistakes in stamping the prices on the stock, but Duffburn Mortmain assumed it was because the fall had made him half-witted. The baby came, a boy, and the mother no longer worked in the store. Patty O'Keefe had dropped out of school and came in to help. Chuck followed Patty's instructions, marking the cans with a stamp which Patty set for him. He heard Patty say, "He's more trouble than he's worth. Why'd you send him to the nut house?" Mortmain muttered something about his wife. Aren't you afraid he'll hurt the baby? Patty asked. After that, Chuck stayed out of the way as much as possible, spending the warm days at the flat rock, the cold ones curled up in the attic. He saw Beezy to talk to only in the evenings and Sunday afternoons. Chuck, what's wrong with your eyes? Nothing. You're not seeing properly. It's all right. Ma, don't tell Ma. But you ought to see a doctor. No, all they want is any excuse to put me away. You must have heard them, Patty and Duffbert. They want to put me in an institution for my own good, Mortmain said to Ma. He said I'm an idiot and I might hurt the baby. Beezy burst into tears and flung her arms around her brother. You wouldn't. You know what? I know I wouldn't. But it's the only thing Mom might listen to. And you're not an idiot? His cheeks were wet with Beezy's tears. Beezy's tears. If you tell them about my eyes, they'll put me in an insane asylum for my own good and the baby's. I'm trying to keep out of the way. I'll help you. Oh, Chuck, I'll help you, Beezy promised. I have to stay long enough to make sure Matthew sends Zilla to Vespuccia. He's saving the money. Oh, Chuck, Beezy groaned. Don't let them hear you talk like this. As the veil deepened and darkened, his inner vision lightened. When the weather was fine, he lay out on the flat rock all day, looking up toward the sky and seeing pictures more vivid than anything he had seen with unveiled eyes. His concentration was so intense that he became part of all that was happening in the pictures. Sometimes in the evenings, he told Beezy about them, pretending they were dreams in order not to upset her. I dreamed about riding a unicorn. He was like moonlight and so tall I had to climb a tree to get on his back, and we flew among the fireflies, and the unicorn and I sang together. That's a lovely dream. Tell me more. I dreamed that the valley was a lake, and I rode a beautiful fish, sort of like a porpoise. Posada Valley was a lake way back in prehistory. Archaeologists have found fish fossils in the glacial rocks. Maybe that's why you dreamed it. Grandma told us about the lake the day we blew dandelion clacks. Oh, Chuck, you're so strange the way you remember such things. And I dreamed about a fire of roses, and he reached gropingly for her hand. I can move in and out of time. Oh, Chuck, I can't, Beezy. please stop. It's only dreams, he comforted. Well then, but don't tell Ma. Only you and Grandma. Oh, Chuck. He knew the route to the rocks so well that it was easier for him to go in the dark when he could see nothing, but in sunlight when shafts of brilliance penetrated the veil like spears and hurt his eyes and confused his sense of direction. Time. There wasn't much time. Time was as fluid as water. He stood by Matthew's couch. You can't wait any longer. You have to get Zilla to Vespuccia now, or it will be too late. Matthew is writing against time. It's on the book Pa talked about. They don't want me to see the book. Richie is cutting a window in Brandon's room before leaving for Wales, but Zilla isn't there. Why is there an Indian girl instead? Because it isn't Zilla's time. She comes later in Matthew's time. Unicorn can move in time. And idiots, space is more difficult. Patty wants me out of the way. Patty and Mortmain, not much time. Lords of space and lords of time, lords of blessing, lords of grace. Who is in the warmer chime? Who will follow Maddox's rhyme? Blue will alter time and space. Did you not learn in Gwynedd that there is room for one king only? You will be great, little Mad Dog, and call the world your own to keep or destroy as you will. It's an evil world, little Mad Dog. You will do good for your people, El Zarco, little Blue Eyes. The prayer has been answered in you, blue for birth, blue for mirth. Which blue will it be? They are fighting, up on the cliff, on the steep rock. The world is tilting. It's going too fast. I'm going to fall.